our Imagine Possibility of AI podcast. Join me with my co-host Elias, and we have a guest speaker today, and his name is John Kim. John Kim is currently a software engineer at Decom, and who is also working on a few AI projects. So, welcome, John. Can you please just share a little bit about what you are working on right now?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's John. Yeah, currently I'm working on a couple of AI projects using OpenAI APIs. So one of them is called Baby Genix AI, which is a AI photo generator for your babies. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I got the idea when I went to the Prego Expo because I was expecting a newborn. Um, and I saw a booth where it was an infant photography booth, and I saw that, and I was talking to the photographer, and then there were several issues that they were facing when taking a photo for infants, like positioning the baby. They don't really hold still. They're crying and fussy a lot, and sometimes they like poo or pee during the set, right? So yeah, and they're really confined to just the props and the settings that photographer has for that photo shoot. So they can't really get like a variety of photo shoots for these infants, right? So I was looking for some AI projects to do, and I thought this was like a really good niche to test out. So I got that launched around last fall, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's been kind of going slowly. And more recently, I started another chat-based AI project called Spreadsheet AI, and that
Mm-hmm.
one helps basically Excel or Google Sheets user generate formulas to streamline their workflow. Yeah.
Mm, that's interesting. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
John was working on Baby Genix AI, and actually, I asked him to help me like take a photo of me and create a baby pictures for me, as a baby, even like taking a current photo, and then he did it for me, and it was amazing because so I was born in Vietnam, so I didn't have like, like a photo shoot when I was a baby. And so that's when I went to John and asked him to did that for me, and I shared it to my mom and my dad, and they said that like yeah, my photo, a reverse photo as a baby, looked like me when I was a baby. So which I feel like, oh, that's such a great idea, especially for those who didn't get to take like baby photos, so great work on genetic AI.
Yeah, thank you. I think I see a potential in that area too because I also grew up without baby photos, and
Mm.
generations earlier than us, I'm sure most of them don't have baby photos. So, yeah, it's a good way to replenish their, I don't know, childhood trauma or childhood memories.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely.
So it looks like, first off, it's pretty crazy that ChatGPT is able to be augmented across so many different industries, and that like you can help do some post production on the photos. So a photographer can like augment their skill sets and with the unique solutions like this, which is really fantastic. Can you talk about the process for your integration and any sort of challenges you faced, or talk about from your experience, like do you feel like integrating in a open AI is easier or harder than folks listening might imagine it to be?
I'd say it's fairly straightforward, integrating the API itself, but making a robust application that people can use is gonna take some experience and knowledge,
Mm.
right? So
Yeah.
if you're already like a seasoned engineer that can like deploy a usable web app, it's just one API endpoint that OpenAI provides that you can use to generate photos, right? So yeah, that's like the straightforward answer. Also, there's like a lot of starter codes out there, so I am also like more of a mobile developer, Android specifically.
Mhm.
And for these
Mm.
projects, I chose web because web is so much quicker to iterate and get it out in front of people. So I finally like got my hands on the web stack, and I just picked like a starter code that was provided by this service called Leap AI, and they had everything
Mhm.
integrated already. So I was just changing like how the landing pages look, integrating like the payment services, the authentication. So these are like the really busy work to actually make it serviceable for people. The using of the API is just like you can do it like in maybe 20 minutes through a like a short curl command or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And can you talk about, so like I built on OpenAI as well, but like as a low code developer, so I'm using like webhooks
Mhm.
essentially to make my stuff happen. Are you? Can you talk about the coding languages or infrastructure you're using?
Yeah, so I have a really good friend that's mainly like a front end developer, and like all my knowledge comes from him. Like, so I just ask him what is the best stack to use right now, right? And then he's like, yeah, you gotta go with Next.js, man, and Vercel, the super base. That's like the ultimate stack right now. And I put it off for a while, and I tried it once with Vercel as a deployment for continuous integration, and it was like just kind of eye-opening how quickly I can like deploy this web app. It was like literally like 2 minutes or 5 minutes, right, to make it usable for people on the web. Um, yeah, so that's the stack that I'm using to develop all of my apps. And for the code, I'm using TypeScript, React Native. Yep, that's my front end.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So with Spreadsheet AI, do you foresee that a lot of workers would be able to use it? Is there any like conflicting term like, with like privacy? Where do you see the Spreadsheet AI will be utilized in the future?
Right. So um, there's a few things that I found interesting with my app. Um, One thing is that I launched a mobile version of it first because
Mm-hmm.
I launched the general chatbot like last year, and there
Mm-hmm.
was already like a bunch of these apps in the market, so mine got like shadowed, right? So it wasn't getting a lot of downloads, and I came across this other competitor that's focusing on formula generation, and he was getting a lot of traffic on the web app. So I did some search. And I didn't want to compete like directly on the web app because he was already getting big and it was kind of, getting flooded in the web space. So I pivoted my mobile app to focus on that spreadsheet niche just to
Mm-hmm.
test. And then I just changed the name and the branding. And then like a week later, I got my first actual sale. Like somebody actually paid for the service. So that was
Oh,
actually eye opening, like, oh, like,
right.
like somebody's actually like willing to pay for this, that I just kind of like change the prompt and just make it a little bit easier for them to use rather than an OpenAI chat GPT, right?
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. So, um, ever since that, I've been kind of testing and looking more into the spreadsheet um, community, and it's like as long as like it's like a real pain point because people that are using this like people are working with spreadsheet and formula every day, right? And as long as you're trying to deliver some value, which is like in this case, reducing the time and the headache it costs for them to research and study the formula to make their Excel sheets perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they find value in that, and they're getting paid per hour. So as long as you're saving them mathematically some financial value, I think they'll be more than willing to pay for it as long as like you let them try the service and it works, right? One conflicting um, part of it is that um, some people have, I mean, there's so many different ways to use Excel sheets, right? Everybody uses differently, and then there's some data that are pretty sensitive, and
Mm-hmm. Yes.
they can't really directly ask ChatGPT, like import the data tables and ask like the questions, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that is like a problem that I've identified, and I think it's something that's worth looking and fixing. Because like once I'm able to fix that, I think that'll bring more value to the end users, right? If I can say like, oh, I'm actually like able to obfuscate your company's data so you don't have to worry about leaking your data using my service, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I think that will allow them to trust my app and then use the service more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. Yes, within the span of like probably like 8 months I've been talking to you. Now you're on your third app that you're building. You know, like in the AI world where it is so fast, almost every single day there's something new that's coming up. And then like, another app was the thing in the past. Even like with Sora is coming out, Vision, Apple Vision Pro, even make metaverse might be the thing in the past, right? So how do you foresee that, like, AI can be sustained? Like, what direction do you feel like it would help, especially like new app builders to like
Mhm.
not getting saturated by a new thing that's coming up next? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of like fear and FOMO when people hear like this big hype and trend.
Mm-hmm.
I think the key point is to like not really be afraid of that. I think really
Mm-hmm.
the power is in the niche and like the incremental improvement. I think that's something that I learned from engineering background that
Mm-hmm.
you only need to improve something just like one step that will help like millions of people, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
they'll like use your service. Like you don't have to make Sora the next Sora and try to go for $1 billion $1 trillion market.
Right.
um, right? You can make an incremental improvement and get users to use it, and then over time you can build more services and features on top of that, and then that will take years, right? And that's how
Definitely.
you build a brand and customer base that can actually trust your product and services. Um, so yeah, I think to sum it up, it's you have to just really try to solve a hard problem or valuable bring up value using the AI, and um, just go deep into it. Don't go broad. Like don't try everything. Just pick something that works, or you have to go
Mm-hmm.
broad until you land on something that works, and then you have to
Definitely.
go deep into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. So don't get discouraged.
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get
Yeah,
discouraged. Yeah.
that's excellent. I love the incremental feedback there. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs that get started really try to, have a grand vision and won't move until the whole vision's in order. But if you just focus on one feature at a time or one, MVP approach, and you can kind of build from there and get momentum. So, AI has obviously had a huge impact over the past 2 years on all of our workflows and really changed our professional lives. John, from your perspective as a founder of AI startups and projects, as well as a developer in this space, I mean, where do you think AI is going to have the most significant impact on the world over the next 5 years? I know super broad question, so feel free to take it anywhere.
Hmm. Over the next 5 years, huh? Um, that's really hard to say. I feel like usually when these technologies come out, the the hype and the trend um, is geared towards more consumer facing products, right? Because it's like ChatGPT came out and all the consumers are like just on it using it, like right? They were like, the Stack Overflow's traffic dropped like 80%, Google traffic dropped like 80%. So everybody was using it to like search and just talk to it. Um, and I think same thing with images, like people are just generating profile photos, right? And like I don't know, professional Photoshop. I don't know if that's kind of B2B, but it's more like consumer, um,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we can see a lot of immediate consumer growth, but I think within the 5 years, the bigger impact will be in the B2B area because, once we start integrating AI to really like streamline business um, workflows, that's where the most more money gets made, right? Consumers only pay like at most like I don't know, $30, $100 for
Mm-hmm.
these services, but businesses will pay like I don't know, 10, 100, $1 million per year to
Right.
streamline their workflow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's like just one or two sales, it's gonna like just outgrow the consumer facing um, product.
That's a really impressive
I love.
intake. Mm-hmm.
And I think if you like kind of want like specifics, um, I'm hoping it's gonna be in the education market that
Mm,
AI will have a huge impact. I think it already has. Like I don't know.
right.
Maybe it's the algorithm, but when I'm on YouTube, all I see is like make $500 a day using AI, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like all this info product. I don't know how much of it is true, but it's all this info products teaching people how to like use AI to get ahead of the curve, like make money, generate, streamline their workflow. So I consider all of that like part of education. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely it's going to accelerate like the way people educate themselves and just learn stuff, right? And there's like actually like it's a double-edged sword because you don't really know what you're consuming. It might work, but it might not be the best optimal solution or like ethically correct.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I think that's in talks at the UN and the higher
Right.
level corporate leaders, right? They're trying to
Yeah.
um, yeah, regulate that.
Definitely. I feel like that's totally makes sense, even just within the pandemic, like 2020, right? And then everything like the course of like all the universities switch into like courses, right? And then even now I feel like people can make a lot of money, just taking one courses how to make Facebook ads. It's very specific. So I doubt with like all of this AI are, coming. And so like the information, it has to be like, it has to come like really fast. So I do feel like the traditional education has to change in order to, to be catching up with the education um, system, like the traditional education system, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, just the chat based chat GPT, like when I'm looking at the community, like all these people that never knew how to code are starting to code and they're able to like launch applications using chat GPT, right? It's like, oh, how do I make a website, for this, and then chat GPT gives you like all this command line, like what to download, you know. So that really accelerates the education. Even for me,
Hmm.
like I didn't know anything about web app, and like within a month, I was able to like, deploy a production level web app. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's super dope. I definitely want to lean in more on that. I was developing something off of DID for like a talking avatar, and so I'm like following like the most innovative, frontline developers that are posting this on YouTube. And I watch their videos. I'm like, okay, I don't really get it, but I go into their GitHub and I paste the GitHub in a GPT-4, and it's like, okay, this is the command lines to download, and then I can go back with forth with GPT and be like, hey, so I know they did it this way, but I actually want to do this thing. What code do I need to change? And it's really insane how personalized of like it's
mm,
like getting a personalized expert guidance from AI. And that is definitely gonna disrupt the entire education model, being that the
Mhm,
education model has been very industrial, as in like,
mhm.
grade one, grade two, grade three. Now it's, maybe all that goes out the window. Who knows?
Yeah,
yeah,
totally. I can foresee it.
yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm like kind of uh, worried about is like the Google Maps effect. Um,
Mm-hmm.
before Google Maps, people memorize the streets and they can like route themselves from point A to point B, right? But now without Google Maps, they don't know how to get anywhere. Um, so same thing with ChatGPT, right? So I feel like same thing's happening with ChatGPT. Even when I'm like kind of observing myself, I get a lot of things done and I'm working really like fast, but like I can't really do anything without ChatGPT, right? Um, so yeah, there's a little bit of worry in that, but again, we're living in the future and this is what it is now, and Google Maps or ChatGPT is not gonna go anywhere. So I think we're looking at a really like a different cultural system being born or integrated. Um,
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
It's really, really great points there. Trinity, you think this is a good time to
Yeah.
lay up the
Mm-hmm.
wearable?
Yes, definitely. So we are launching our app, our Titan device this Wednesday. So we're to share a little bit of a sneak peek and then, just give us some thought on, where you think that our wearable can go with our AI technology.
Um,
You
Wearables.
can share the sneak peek. Elias is going to share us the little
Mm-hmm.
sneak peek.
Wow, that looks very slick. It's like out of an Iron Man movie.
Oh, I love that you're saying it.
Yeah, yeah. I love the effort in wearables. I think it's a very tough market to create hardware solutions, especially for consumers. Um, I think that what's hard is like to find the real pain point with hardware solutions. Um, the only visible market, only obvious market is like the health industry. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with several health industry companies when I was consulting, and when it has a lot of sensors that can monitor your biometrics. So in that area, I think there's a lot of opportunities, but it seems like everything else, it seems like more of a vitamin than a pain medicine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's whether if people want it as a luxury and want to try it, and if there's enough hype around it, like I mentioned in the beginning, where it's like, oh, like without this, you can't have this experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I think that might drive some curiosity in sales. But I think that's what's gonna happen. Same thing in hardware. In the beginning, it's just gonna be very like consumer and hype and trend based, where
Mm-hmm.
people are gonna just buy based on this curiosity and hype. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and followed by there will be like innovation with that actually identify this really hard pain points that the hardwares can solve. And I
Mm-hmm.
think those who goes into that market, I think will probably win. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I think and that's part of why we did this podcast is because we kind of want to imagine what all the possibilities could be. Like some of the things that we've heard people could use this for would be like auto transcription. Like going back to healthcare professionals, like a therapist being able to auto transcribe notes, or more relevant to the masses would be first responders, police officer or firefighter doing interviews, and then it's being auto transcribed instead of them having to go back to the office to type it up after doing like 12 other cases. Another use case we heard was business meetings or networking conventions, right? If it could like keep track of everybody I met and then follow up. But the biggest thing that I'm curious about, what, and I'll just plant the seed with you, John, and you can let us know what your thoughts are on this, is the shift from just generative AI to intuitive AI, meaning, generative AI being, hey, I'm going to click on this thing and I'm going to prompt it. I'm going to say, hey, do this thing for me. And that would be generative because we're prompting it. But intuitive is like the opposite. So going back to the health diagnostics piece of saying, hey, Elias, you've been stressed out the last 3 days. Your heart is irregular. Maybe you need to go see a doctor, or you haven't seen your therapist in 2 weeks, and kind of prompting me on things that, the algorithm thinks I should consider, essentially.
Yeah, that's a very like murky water because
Mhm.
I wouldn't, I don't like people telling me what to do, let alone I don't know if I would trust an AI would tell me what to do. And once I start getting dependent on that, like I feel like um it'll be so easy for me to like get brainwashed by AI,
Mhm,
you know, in a sense.
mhm,
So
mhm.
I think as a consumer, I think that's something that I won't like really on board so fast, so quickly. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. But maybe for the
But
younger generation who were born with the phone in their hand, maybe they'll just
mhm,
like easily integrate. But for us, like, the millennials, I think we still have like the, I don't know, the brain power to make that decision. So, um,
mhm. But don't you feel like when you interact with like ChatGPT, sometimes you just feel like it gets you?
um,
What if an intuitive AI that it feels like because of all of the external factors that it might understand you better than you understand yourself?
I kind of, but not really, because
Not really.
I would say I don't even know myself, like there's no,
Definitely, yes.
I'm not gonna really trust an AI to know me better than me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
even if like I compile my 30 years of my life's data and put it into an AI and train a model out of it, like I think we're as a human being are always evolving and we grow and we change too. So we're the only ones that experience ourselves at the moment and in the future, the first, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the AI is a good tool to keep a database and have like good context and fetch data out of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe there's research on like it can predict and yeah, it can predict better, but I don't know if it's gonna be like as close to what a human progression would give,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's a prediction
Mm-hmm.
model, but like, I don't know if the AI has enough data and training and that innovation where it will predict the human progression, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to be honest, like actually
That
I'm a Christian, so I believe in God and His design. So I feel
Mm-hmm.
like
Mhm.
He's the only one that can actually really know. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if AI can compete with that. Yeah.
For
Awesome.
sure. One just quick reaction, and on that would be, I wonder how, to your point about like how good at predicting our next actions AI will become. And if you think
Mm-hmm.
about Netflix recommending the next show, or Facebook and
Mm-hmm.
Instagram and TikTok recommending the next item on our feed, that's essentially their algorithm making a bet that
Yeah.
you will pick one of these options. And so um, a lot of that was already happening the pre AI going to the mass market. And so I'm curious
Mm-hmm.
if AI will ultimately get better at influencing our decisions, or even just like predicting what it is that we want. Like another example of the intuitive piece would be, hey Serena, I know you have an 11:30 tomorrow to meet with Isaac, at the Oakland coffee shop. Do you want me to place your order ahead of time, because I you've been there 12 times, and every time you go, you just get the honey almond milk espresso. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it definitely will never come close to God for sure,
Mm.
ever. But in terms of influencing humans,
Yeah.
that's an interesting realm we're about to enter.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think some people will find it convenient. I think it really depends on the personality trait. Like, you know, I think
Mm-hmm.
when AI, the YouTube algorithm, like was getting really smart, I thought it was really interesting. You're consuming all this like cool information and TV shows, but I don't know if it's just me, but nowadays I feel like there's nothing else to watch anymore on YouTube. I'm always like fed the same thing, right? And to be honest, I really want to get away from the shorts and the YouTube and media and really explore other areas, right? Like I want to try to learn different skills, maybe like drawing or something new, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if they keep on shoving this like content that they think I'll like because I've watched it before down my throat, like
Mm-hmm.
it really takes away from the free mind and free context to like explore those
Yes.
things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, maybe the intuitive AI can have like that capacity to really like even guide the free context of free thinking. Like, hey, maybe like
Mm-hmm.
it's time to like get away from the YouTube, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe you wanna try
Take
some
a
other things
walk
like
or
drawing. Yeah, take a walk.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Yep.
that's possible.
That's a
As
good
long,
point.
mhm.
Yep.
It's like you've had 8 hours of screen time. You should go
Right,
for a walk before you feel depressed tomorrow.
right, yeah. So then,
Definitely.
yeah,
Was
exactly.
such a great topics and great talk with you guys. And thank you so much, John, for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yes, it is definitely.